over in James, John, but the primary text is in Matthew chapter 5. So if you want, you can just turn there and just listen to the passages that I cite or that I read in some of these other books. I think it's more important to just listen to what was written than to try to, play catch up or flip around the Bible too much. It's a distraction. So the title of this message is "How Bright is Our Light in This World?" How bright is our light? What we want to find out today is, what did God say about being the light of the world? He called himself that in the Bible, but then he also called his disciples that. And he calls us the light of the world. So we're going to try to find out what that means. We're going to see what it says in the Bible concerning that. And we also want to know what the implications are. If we are the light of the world, what kind of responsibility do we have at that point? What does that mean to us? What are the implications? So these are things that we're going to try to talk about here. That's the overarching theme, is being the light of the world here. And I constructed an outline last night that's broken down into 3 parts. And the first part is, what did God say about light? So that's the first thing we're going to take a look at. I know I told you we'd be in Matthew, but we're not there yet. I'm calling your attention to James chapter 1, verse 17. And here's what God said about light. He said, "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning." That's James 1:17. Then he said down in John 8:12, "Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world." Jesus called himself the light of the world. And then he said, "He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life." The light of life. And then in John 9:5, he said, "As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." John 12:35, "Then Jesus said unto them, Yet a little while is the light with you." Speaking of him being there in the flesh with them before he died and rose again. And he said, "Walk while you have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walketh in darkness knoweth not whither he goeth." So obviously the topic here is about light. It's about being the light of the world. So as we can see in these passages, God is the Father of lights. Every good and perfect gift comes from him. So it only makes sense that Jesus is light. So much that he said, "I am the light of the world." Then he goes on to say that those who follow him will have the light of life. I'm not going to try to define all these terms. I'm just trusting that the Holy Spirit will just give us an impression about what we ought to be in this life as I read through here. So that is what we have, the light of life. The moment we made the decision to believe on Jesus, the Holy Spirit came to dwell in us, and we received the light of life. Jesus went on to say that as long as he was in the world, he would be the light of the world. And he said, "Yet a little while is this light with you," speaking of himself. That was during that time with the disciples. But something very interesting happens after this. Jesus called himself the light of the world, but something interesting happens here after that. Something very profound, something that is actually really humbling, very sobering to me. Something that is my next point, and that is, who is the light of the world today? Now that Jesus ascended to heaven, he's still the light, but he said that ye are the light of the world, speaking to his disciples. And that applies to us too. So we are today, right now in America, in 2016, in Pensacola, Milton, or Pace, Florida, we are the light of the world. For whatever reason, God has chosen the Christians, followers of Jesus Christ, to be the light of the world since he died and rose and went to heaven. We are a sort of conduit for his light, if you will. And that makes us the light of the world. So that's a really profound thing. It's hard to find the words to express express that, but if you stop and just meditate on what that means, it's a very big deal, actually. John 12:36 says, "While ye have light, believe in the light, that ye may be the children of light. These things spake Jesus, and departed, and did hide himself from them." And then, now we're in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 14. He said, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." He said, we have light, to believe in the light, that we would be the children of light. And then he says it himself, we are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill which cannot be hid, meaning we are the light of the world. It means if we are the light of the world, then we cannot be hid and should not be hid. The light is there for those who are in darkness. You know, I was thinking yesterday as I was trying to put together this outline here about being the light of the world as Christians, I was thinking about how light works in the creation and in nature. And I was thinking about, well, it caused me to wonder, do I have the type of Christian life that would attract people or draw people to myself and ultimately to the Lord? Do I have that kind of light in my life? Or does my personality get in the way of the light of the Lord? It's speaking of our testimony, really, our testimony, and how we communicate with other people, our mannerisms as we walk and mingle in the world. All that's important. And I thought, it's almost like I need to learn to get out of the way of the light or the joy and the confidence that is in me and put aside trivial things in life that would hinder or dim the brightness of my light. And so Jesus said himself, ye are the light of the world, not because of our righteousness, but because of his, of course. So I say all that to bring us to a single point here, which is, what is our responsibility as Christians and as a light, the light to the world? What is our responsibility? It's a great honor to be called the light of the world, even by Jesus Christ himself. But what is the responsibility? It's a responsibility to shine so that others may have that same light. It's a great responsibility, too great for us to bear on our own, so we call upon him to help us shine as brightly as we possibly can in a lost and dying world. If you're not already over at Matthew 5, go ahead and turn over there now. I'm going to read exactly what Jesus said here. I want to read the words that Jesus said as he was teaching his disciples in the presence of the multitude. I want to read this teaching as he said it to his disciples because it captures the essence of this light of the world concept. I've been trying to express what that is. I can't really do that in my own words, but perhaps his words will do it justice. So let us focus and think critically about what I'm going to read here beginning in Matthew 5:1. And it says, and seeing the multitudes, he, speaking of Jesus, went up into a mountain. And when he was sat down, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. And then finally, the main text that I want to highlight here this afternoon is Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16. If you're going to read anything today or come away with anything at all, maybe you can just come away with these three passages here. Verse 14 says, Ye are the light of the world, a city that is set on a hill. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Those three passages are what I'm alluding to here. Whether or not I can communicate or expound upon what he said, is irrelevant. If you can read those and come away understanding what those passages mean, you get the point. And the point is, when I read what is here, I see a description of what we ought to be as Christians. So consider or confirm if we are indeed meek, if we are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, if we are merciful, if we are pure in heart, if we are peacemakers. Are we those things that he listed there? When I ask myself if I have been those things recently, I can say that honestly I have not been. Again, so how bright is my light if this is not part of my character? Not very bright, is it? And then we saw what is essentially the point of the message there in verses 14 through 16. So we are the light of the world. Our light should shine before men so that they see our good works, speaking of a good testimony, that is. I did not have a good testimony for years, but it seems like when I got that turned around and prioritized that and had a better testimony, opportunities came and my light began to shine brighter. It is a challenge to not get stuck in the routine of living the Christian life and forgetting about the lost person at work, the neighbor, the distant aunt or aunt, the brother, the gas station attendant. That's what this is about. It's about being a witness to other people. It's about drawing other people to ourselves, just like nature draws its creation to light. For example, when you go to a dock at night and put a light in the water, fish are attracted to that light. Same thing with insects. You put a light on the side of a house, insects are drawn to that light. That's what I'm trying to allude to here. It's about the lost. And here in a moment, I'm getting to a point, I'm going to lay out some practical things that we can do in order to be a bright light in Pensacola, Florida. But having read all this and said all this, the question is, how do we do it? How do we see to it that we are the brightest light in Pensacola, Florida, wherever we live, wherever we're going? How do we accomplish that? The short answer is to pray specifically for God to help us to shine brighter than we did yesterday. Every day. We cannot do it on our own, but we can pray specifically, routinely, and sincerely to God, asking Him to help us become the people He wants us to be, and to help us shine brighter and brighter every day. If we pray and ask Him to do that, does He have the power to do that? I think He does. If our heart is right, if we have a perfect heart for Him. Then we rest on His promise to perform His good work in us until the day of Jesus Christ, Philippians 1:6. So, in addition to praying, and I'm about to wrap up here, but in addition to praying to the Lord and asking Him to help us become a bright light in Pensacola, Florida, there are some practical things that we can do. And I have 3 items here I've listed. The first one is pray for humility. That's very easy, as Lamar was saying, to get angry at the world because of how they hate the Lord, how they hate us. It's easy to get angry at them and begin thinking that we're better than them. I'm guilty of this. Smarter than them, more spiritual than them. But God said, let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seems to be wise in this world, let him become a fool that he may be wise. So we have to watch ourselves. That's 1 Corinthians 3:18. Concerning spiritual pride, he said, but we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousnesses are as filthy rags. That's Isaiah 64:6. Humility. God cannot use a proud Christian out here in this world. some of the people that I run into online or in the world who don't go to church aren't Christians. And of course, some people are always going to reject the Lord, no matter what happens. But when I run into them, a lot of times their complaint is that Christians aren't kind to them. So we have to watch and be sensitive to that. That's number one, pray for humility. Number two, pray for opportunities with those within your sphere of influence. I didn't learn to do that until I came to Scenic Bay Baptist Church. And hearing Pastor Gary preach on this, got the wheels turning. It works. Pray for opportunities to speak to those who you already know. Knocking on doors and approaching strangers has its place. I'm not saying it doesn't, but in my experience, praying for opportunities with people by name who you already know or are acquainted with is highly effective. You are a light to those people. Let's purpose to draw them to yourself. Philippians 4:6 says, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God." He wants us to make our requests known unto Him. He wants us to pray specifically for opportunities with those people who we know, either they're in our family, in our workplace, or wherever. Pray for opportunities to pray specifically, routinely, and sincerely. That's the second practical thing we can do here to brighten our life. Number three, strive to give an answer for the reason, or be able to give an answer for the reason of the hope that is in you. People out here who don't have the Lord, they may appear to be happy, but they're not. Desperate, dying out here. They're so desperate for joy, they cannot find it. They're searching everywhere. But we have that kind of joy. And every now and then somebody will come along and they'll see that, and they'll say, "Man, what is that that person has? How can they be so happy or so joyful in this life?" 1 Peter 3:15 says, "But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope," which is confidence, "that is in you with meekness and fear." I'll conclude just by saying this. The whole point of this thing is about being a bright light in our community. As Christians, we can get caught up in the routine of life where we go to church, we have our Christian friends. We may even go to work and have our little group of friends there. We don't stretch outside of our comfort zone. We don't make real effort to reach the lost. So if we can pray for humility, if we can be the type of person that views others as more important than ourselves first, by humility, and then if we pray for opportunities to speak to those people about the Lord Jesus Christ, pray specifically about that, and then if we're prepared to give an answer for the hope or the confidence or the joy that is in us, we are being highly effective Christians. We are being a bright light in this community, not a dim light. So let us be that kind of Christian. Wherever you live, consider your neighbors. Consider the people who you work with. Acts of kindness. There are simple things we can do. You work with a person who you don't know well, to go up to him and say, "I love you." Boy, that would shock them. That would put them back on their heels. But later on, when hard times come, they may remember that, and they may have believed and remember that you said you actually loved them, even though you didn't know them that well. They may come to you and ask for something. Ask for help. It's about making a stronger effort to reach out there and contact these people. So may we become the brightest lights in the neighborhoods and in the workplaces where we live and marry places. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you and praise you for the opportunity to come up here and just repeat what you said, dear Lord. You said that we are the lights of the world. I don't fully comprehend what that means. All I can figure is we're just a conduit sharing the light that you gave us with other people. I pray that you would help us to understand what our responsibilities are as lights of the world, dear Lord. I pray that you would help us consider the people in our workplaces, I pray that you would help us to consider family members who we're afraid to reach out to. We don't have to go straight up to them tonight, but we can pray for them by name and ask you to give us opportunities with them, and you will give us those opportunities, dear Lord. I pray that you would help us to come away today knowing that. I pray that you would help us to not forget it, dear Lord, to remember that we can be proactive here. We can pray actively for opportunities with the people who we already know, dear Lord. I pray that you would help us to remember this all year and in the coming years. And I pray all these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Dismissed.